Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Joy, Love, and Healing Podcast. I'm Jay Bradley, and I always say this, but really today we have such an important topic, one that is near and dear to my heart, one that I have struggled with for most of my life, one that has brought me great joy and bliss and love, and one that has frustrated the heck out of me. It's money. So we're going to delve in. We're going to talk all about different aspects of money. And I see it a lot with people that I train, healers, coaches. You know, there's often a question when we run our own business and offering our gifts about value and charging and receiving money for those gifts. So I want to dig in. But first, my dear friend Shaneh Woods is here with us. Shaneh is a feisty, tattooed oracle, card reading, crystal attuned, profit engineer, and human design expert. She is the founder and CEO of Prosperity First, and she uses all of her gifts, the magic and the mundane, to inspire impact-driven entrepreneurs to create a new reality where they are richly rewarded for bringing all of themselves to all that they do. I love that. And hello, my friend. It's nice to see you.
Hey, Jay. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for being here after a lot of interesting challenges, including, how are you? You went through a hurricane.
Yes, that was quite interesting, but luckily we're safe. We're good. We're whole.
I'm so glad. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you have helped me in many ways around the financial stuff, and it's such an important conversation. I know we have a lot to cover. I feel like there's just multifaceted layers, but tell us a little bit about you and like why money and why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, first of all, why not money? Right? The phrase is money makes the world go round. It's everywhere. It's energy. It's part of what connects people to the things that they desire. It's the way we measure our success. And for some, it's the way they measure their worth. Now, my job, if I'm doing it right and I'm showing up to the world the way I'm meant to, I help people disconnect their belief that their worth has anything to do with their money. Can you imagine how important that is?
That's really important.
Disconnecting your worth from your money.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good.
Yeah. I was asked once to teach a class, and they titled the class for me, Charging What You're Worth. I accepted the invitation to teach the class and then proceeded to, instead of teaching them how to price themselves based on their value, right, that's good, the value they bring to the market, I spent 45 minutes of the hour I was given deconstructing worthlessness and how we've attached our money to it. The class loved me, but I was not invited back as an instructor.
So you created your own class.
It was too important. I mean, just the sentence is actually harmful. You're buying into the fact that how much money you have or don't have quantifies your value and worth as a human being. And I'm not okay with that. I
got to say, that's kind of run the show for me. When people say, what is success? You know, it's always like, there's a real attachment to how much I've made, how much I've invested. So yeah, I think a lot of people have that.
I know I did for years. Mm-hmm. And it was actually when I disconnected it that I actually started making bank.
Okay, this is an important conversation. How do we disconnect?
Well, you said in my bio, I am a human design expert. Part of my design, the way I am designed, and human design is and I believe you've had another guest that's talked about it. So your listeners have probably heard a bit about human design. It is a amazing system that takes 4 ancient wisdoms, amalgamates them together, and like creates a beautiful soup with quantum mechanics. In your design, you see that you are infinite because there are infinite possibilities in your design. There's infinite opportunities in your design. When we start equating ourselves with the universe, we just can't do anything but accept how worthy we are. When you think of the stars, we never look at the night sky and think any one of them is unworthy of shining. We didn't all just go through the grand conjunction last year of Jupiter and Saturn for anybody to post on social media or say to their friend, wow, if Jupiter just shone a little less brightly, Saturn's rings would have been that much more beautiful. All of those are ways of talking about abundance, right? The abundance of Jupiter's light was taking something away from Saturn. No. When we dim our light by connecting our worth to our money, to our level of success, to something external from ourselves, we dim the light of the entire universe.
That's very, very powerful. And in that situation, then, what would you say? I mean, I know you work with a lot of people. You work with companies, you work with individuals, but those people who are not experiencing, or let's say they're not thriving the way they want financially.
Right.
I know you have a lot that you offer, but how do you begin to tap in to disconnecting and still having the inspiration, I think, and the motivation to move forward when things don't seem to be working? Because that could be tough too.
Right. Well, practically, I take them through their design and just hold up a mirror of who they infinitely are. What is possible for them when they are in alignment with the universe and the natural energies, which includes the energy of money. So that's very practical. But then, you're one of my mentors. So of course we go back to the breath.
Yeah. Okay.
And breathe it in. I take them through a guided visualization that's short, sweet, but so powerful, where they get to imagine themselves through the eyes of somebody who has loved them well. Somebody who has loved them into existence. And when they can see themselves through that person's eyes, even if it's just for a moment, it starts to change things for them.
I really love that, because almost all of us, I think, don't see ourselves the way others do. I mean, most of us can be pretty self-critical and, even when we've done some work. So I really, really think that's so important.
Yeah.
How do we, and we breathe that into our body? We kind of take that energy in?
Take it in, and I am a firm believer of breathing it all the way down to that root chakra, right? Get in deep into the pelvis, because it's all about safety. It's all about building that foundation that you can stand sovereign on. And then when you have that moment where you're experiencing that vision of yourself through that person's eyes, breathing it back out into the universe, it just transforms everything.
Sounds like it's really fun to work with you.
Well, I'd like to think so.
I mean, because a lot of us think money, right? Budgeting and, oh God, I got to look at the numbers and I have to spend less and I have to get practical. Actually, since we're on that, jumping a little bit, what is your view about that? Because obviously there must be some practical sense around money as well.
Absolutely. I call it the soul and the science of money.
Love
right?
that.
There's the soul, the energy, the connection, breathing it in, allowing yourself to receive, because you have to remember a closed grasp can't take anything in. Right. So allowing yourself to receive. And then there's the science of it, income minus expenses equals profit. Now, if we're talking about an individual, income minus their living expenses equals play or retirement or savings. You have to do both, but you have to do it in a way that is aligned with your design. Budgets for some people will feel really good. Like once they have those guardrails around their money, they'll feel safe. For others, based on their design, I can see this in their design, it'll feel constraining. It'll feel like a shoe that doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how painful that gets.
Yes. See, I love what I'm hearing because it's not one plan fits all.
No.
Which is so important because we've all read the books, and I certainly have read a ton of books around money, and there's just so many experts and so many opinions. And one says, yes, budget. One says, don't even look at your bank account. It's like, So I love that you personalize the system so that it feels good, which is probably the most important thing.
Yep. When you think about it, why should we, I love that word, should, do anything that somebody says, this is what you should do? They're not living in my body. They're not operating under my conditions.
Okay.
So what if instead we learn a powerful tool that allows us to have an embodied emotional response or physical response to an opportunity, to a decision, so that we can trust our bodies to guide us, to say yes, lean forward, or no, back away. That's
really
the
like
only thing you should do. Listen to your own body.
Yeah, I guess I teach that all the time. Listening, feeling, where the sensations and noticing, but we have those in every moment, don't we?
We do.
And I certainly, for me, when I've thought about money in the past, there's been I forget to breathe. There's a little bit of restriction. It's like, okay. Yeah. I love that. I've heard once that, money in itself has no value. I mean, it's just, it's what we put on it as well, which I love. So it's the energy of what we place on it too.
Yep.
Important, of course, but.
Yeah. And I consider it an amplifier. There's a pretty prevalent belief that if you have a lot of money, you'll end up being a bad person. Money is the root of all evil. It's better to give than receive. And of course, if you believe that to be true, it is true. But the truth about money is it just amplifies what you already are. If you are a kind, decent human being, you are going to be more kind, more generous, more compassionate, with more to give. And if you're a jerk, you're going to be a bigger jerk.
I really like that. I do believe that. I do believe that. I know a lot of people who for some reason think they'll become an asshole. There's a resistance around, oh God, no, I'm really good. I'm humble. I'm kind. I don't want to, become that person. But that's a great testament. More of who we are already.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just amplifies it. It turns up the volume.
Interesting. You have something amazing that I love so much. I really want to talk about it. I think you have something around doing a letter or speaking to money as if it's a lover or an intimate partner. And I think this is so valuable.
Yes. It's actually a daily practice for me.
Okay.
I consider money my lover. And there is nothing my lover doesn't want to serve up to me on a silver platter. Think about having that kind of relationship with your money. Like, I get to sit back and my lover is just going to take care of me. Now, not everybody feels that way about money or even desires to feel that way about money. Most people are stuck in a hero-villain cycle. Money's the bad guy. Oh, I can't be trusted with it. Credit's killing me. Like, money's bad. Or it's the hero. Someday my prince will come. Yeah. And when I finally have money, then I'll finally be happy. That's a really tough mask for money to wear because it's going to give you exactly what you ask of it. What if instead you took a moment and considered money as a true companion, however you see that companionship? Sensual like I do as a lover, or just like your best friend, that's the person you call in the dark soul of your dark night of your soul, and that they're there for you, supporting, witnessing you. Money can be that for you as well. You get to decide what the relationship looks like because you're the one in the driver's seat. Money mimics your desires. Okay, and what about those? Because in breathwork, you've
done a lot of breath work as well, I sort of breathe into the dark and the heavy stuff as well. And so is it important for them to be honest if it's the opposite? I mean, where money hasn't shown up and the lover hasn't been giving to them, and that, do you help them to recognize what's not working?
Oh, of course. You can't move forward if you don't acknowledge where you are and what has happened in the past. So, and I still use the Ho'oponopono practice that you taught me. Acknowledging where you haven't shown up to your money and forgiving yourself for it.
Yeah.
And then forgiving money for not showing back up to you. When you release those bonds, those constraints, money just wants to embrace you with open arms. So the way I got into this, the first thing I did was I ranted. I wrote down on a page, like with heavy, like, right?
Yeah.
All the ways I felt money had let me down.
Yep.
And just like ripped it out of my soul. This is the way I feel. This is my anger, my rage, my sadness, my fear. Like I got it all out. Then I did the forgiveness practice. Mm-hmm. I burnt that beautiful piece of paper because I don't need to read it and take it back in.
Yes.
And then I wrote a list of all the ways that I was demanding that money showed up for me. I was putting boundaries on the relationship, just like any relationship. Now, we don't have these conversations with people. Jay, if you're going to be my friend, this is what I expect. Mm-hmm. But there's an energetic contract that we have with people. And when they break the contract, we go our separate ways. Or when we've evolved past the contract, we go our separate ways. Money, first of all, we can't ever evolve out of money. It evolves with us, which is awesome. But we have a contract with it. And we get to state, this is what I desire. This is what I require. And this is what I deserve.
Regarding human design, because it shows basically the plan when we're born, are some people predestined to have some challenges or issues with money? Or is it all within our control? You know what I'm saying about that?
I do know what you're saying about that. Predestined's a strong word, but I will say, yes, if we're not congruent with our design, if we're not aligned with our design, we will have issues earning, keeping, celebrating money. Mm-hmm. But everything we need to reach that equilibrium with money, to build that beautiful relationship, is also in our design. Right? Nobody's destined to be poor.
Got it.
Right. That's no. We all are capable of holding prosperity, whatever that looks like for you. What is it you desire in your life? Is it a lot of money? Great. Is it, I don't have a lot of money, but I have my wealth in other ways, an abundance of friends, family, my health. Mm-hmm. I have just what I need because that's all I desire. Great. Like whatever your definition of prosperity is found, like the pathway, the blueprint to get there is in your design.
Got it. So we are in charge.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
it can feel the opposite sometimes. It's like something else is running the show here because I'm doing everything. I've once heard that, the universe or whatever it is for people, mm-hmm. God, angels, guides, provide just enough for us to be able to do our work here without distracting us. I remember hearing that. And right now.
I don't buy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe it's a good way to justify, right? This is, this is what I'm supposed to have right now so I can still focus on my work. I mean, I know a lot of people I talked to lately, even though we like our work or love our work, a lot of people are like, I don't really want to work anymore, or at least having that freedom, right? The option. Mm-hmm. I don't need to work, but I choose to.
And not needing to work is probably part of that person's vision of their prosperity. Great. Right. That's right for them. Like in my design, I'll never be comfortable just not working. That will feel purposelessness to me.
Right.
Will I always feel the need to charge for it? Not necessarily, but I will always need to be living out loud, helping people discover what prosperity means for them. It's built into me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I take people through, it's a really quick rapid fire, like what's the first word that comes to your mind? And I give them 10 sentences and they fill in the blank. One of them is having more than I need is fill in the blank. Okay? Most people say that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Something good. And then wanting more than I need is, and most people will say selfish or greedy. Can you feel the cognitive dissonance if you believe having more than you need is great, but wanting more than you need is bad? Like
Something
you're
about
in
want.
a constant state of push-pull.
Yeah. Yeah, subtleties, but so important.
Yeah.
I remember you had me do some celebration around my money. That was really, I know it could be different for everyone, but I think you suggested putting on music every time, I got a new client or some money showed up out of nowhere, and just really taking the time to celebrate that.
Yeah. It's the vibration of joy.
Okay.
And money is attracted to joy. So if we celebrate every time any money, I don't care if it's a dime, $10 or $10,000, if we celebrate it equally with as much fervor as we can dial up in our body, money is like, oh, you're singing my song. Let me come into your world a little bit stronger. I use music because music connects to us on a visceral level. It's also works with a different part of our brain. Right? So we're conscious that we've received money on one side, and our unconscious side is celebrating through the music. So all parts of us become involved in the reception of that money.
Yeah.
And I also, if you recall, would tell you, reach out to me, celebrate with me, because joy shared is joy amplified.
Oh, I love that. Joy shared is joy amplified.
Raises the vibration for both of us.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that.
Now, I bet some of your audience is a lot like mine in that I have money. I still worry about it sometimes, but I got money coming in. I'm living comfortably. Things are fine. Do I need to do this? Right? If I'm comfortable, aren't I okay? That's for them to decide, first of all. But I want you, to stop and think about the way you receive one thing is the way you receive everything. So while you may be like, okay, I've got enough, but you notice yourself when somebody pays you a compliment, hot potatoing it right back out into the world, I'll bet you're doing it with your money too. Women are particularly good at this.
Yes.
So like, Jay, you look amazing today.
Oh God.
Thanks.
I didn't sleep very well. Yeah. I'm tired. Yeah. Oh, master. I used to be a master repelling compliments. Yep.
Yep. Or, oh, you look great today. Oh, thank you. So do you. You didn't even let the compliment land.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Right?
Ah.
You just hot potatoed it right back out at me. People do that with their money. Okay. So there's some people who just struggle to bring any in. Okay, that's real for them. There's other people that are great at bringing it in and then can't figure out where it all went because they're bringing it in but hot potatoing it right back out into the world. They're not letting it land. How many times have you had the experience where you get $1,000 in? Yes. And then suddenly your car needs $1,000 repair.
Yes.
That's that hot potatoed energy. And I bet it happened more frequently before you started to learn to accept compliments.
Yes. Yes, it reminds me of the thermostat. It's like we're only allowed to get so much income or so much savings. And then if we go a little higher, like you said, an expense comes, the money's gone.
Yep.
So obviously your work, yeah, go ahead.
That's a subconscious belief that you're only allowed to have so much, or that there's only so much available in the world, that it's finite.
Right.
Energy's infinite. There is more than enough for everybody. And me having a lot doesn't take away from anybody else.
Right. God, like I said, there are so many layers to this, right? Because we have our family story, ancestral story. We have our own stories from our past, recreating our present and future. We have so much going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Interesting enough, you can actually see the ancestral and the familial stories in your design. When somebody comes to me with a particular issue and like they can't logic their way out of it, we start talking about their parents, what they saw. And it's like, no, I consciously made the decision not to follow my parents' path. Great. Do you know your grandparents' story? Well, no, I don't. Great. Let's look at the design. There are places in your chart where you can see what are the challenges that your grandparents went through, your great-grandparents with you. It goes back 4 generations.
Yeah.
And when you see what their challenges were and what the gifts that they've brought to you, because I think it's Lola Pickett who says, how did she say it? We are the dreams of our ancestors embodied.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that.
Isn't that beautiful? So if we can see both their patterns, their lower vibrational patterns where they've been stuck or repressed or held back, and we have so much systemic repression in our society, right? We can see those, and we can also see the gifts. And so we know that the gifts call us out of the shadows, but we're not conscious of them until somebody shows us their design.
I don't know if I've seen that in my design. I'm curious. We'll have to talk more about that piece. I really like that. And you mentioned Ho'oponopono earlier, which for those who don't know is 4 phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you. And there's something beautiful about really tapping into all that our ancestors gave up for us to be where we're at, and really tapping into the struggle, but also the appreciation and love and gratitude for them doing that so we could be here.
Yep.
In particular around money and other things. Such a good conversation. What else do you want to share before I ask you our final few questions? Is there anything that comes to mind around your work?
Going back to it being a relationship.
Okay.
So many people like to stick their head in the sand when it comes to money, not look at it, not face it, not talk to it, not acknowledge it in any way except for I paid my bills and I have a roof over my head. So if we correlate it to a relationship, think about how your best friend would feel if you only came to the relationship when you needed something. You didn't acknowledge or appreciate it in any of the in-between times. You didn't celebrate its birthday. You didn't, right? Like your best friend would be hurt and the relationship would dissolve. You need to show up to the relationship with money, because when you show up to it, money is like that loyal puppy that just wants to be loved, and it wants to love you in return.
I like that. I saw some definite correlations for me around giving more than I receive, and it also showed up in my relationships, of course, and it was showing up in my finances. And it's so interesting that there is such a deep correlation. So that's a really good reminder for people. They'll leave with a lot of things from this chat, but that's something so important that they can use every day.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you work with people? Do you work monthly, yearly?
Sure. So first of all, I work primarily with business owners.
Okay.
There's lots of human design experts that can talk to you about your money on a personal level. I can, but it's not where my joy is. Mine is with business owners. Business owners work with me typically on an ongoing basis. In fact, my average customer stays with me for about 17 years.
Wow. It's a good track record.
I'm looking for long-term relationships.
Yes. Committed monogamous relationships.
Exactly. Well, you know, I blossom and bloom in that, which is why I see money as my lover, because that deep interpersonal relationship is where I bloom. So clients come to me and typically they're stuck with their money, right? Maybe they're just getting ready for doing their taxes, or they haven't done their taxes yet and it's freaking them out. And of course we can clean it all up practically. I've got myself and a whole team that does that. But I work with them on addressing their design and optimizing their business to their design, which makes everything feel easeful and effortless.
It's so important not to follow someone else's plan, but their own plan, their own design, which is so unique.
Everything you desire is on the other side of you doing you.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Well, I'd love to ask you a few questions. I want to know what brings you the most joy in your life.
Receiving. Absolutely. And receiving on every level. Allowing the sun to touch my skin and receiving that beautiful energy. A hug and that exchange of energy between me and that person. Receiving the words of a beautifully written book or poem. Receiving the vibration of the music into my body from a singer or an instrumentalist. It's all about receiving.
That's good. What do you love most about yourself?
What do I love most about myself? Well, my first thought goes to the physical, and I love my smile because in my opinion, it brightens up any room that I'm in.
I agree.
Of course, here's the thing. I'm an emotional authority. So if I'm smiling, my emotional authority, I become the thermostat, the emotional thermostat of the room. So when I'm smiling, I'm doing nothing but radiating joy. If we get away from the physical, and it's such a, human thing to go straight to the physical, it's my curiosity. I'm always looking at the world and asking, ooh, what's this? How does that work? How can it be better? Ooh, what can feel better than this?
That's great. I like that. What's your definition of healing?
You and I know the same person, Jeffrey Van Dyke.
Yes.
He said something once that I've owned for myself. It was in a very vulnerable space, and one of the women in the space said, "Jeffrey, how do you know when you're healed?" And he got quiet for a second, and he looked at her and he says, "How do I know when I'm healed? When I would ask for the wounding again."
Ooh. Wow.
There is something so beautiful about accepting that everything that happened to you, the good, the bad, the ugly, the unimaginable, happened so that you could be exactly the person you are in this space and time, living your truth. And if we took away that thing that harmed us, we wouldn't be us. We wouldn't be able to impact the people we're here to impact. So while it's not about saying it was okay that this bad thing happened to me and saying that, oh, there's something in NLP, like I'm 100% responsible for everything that's happened to me. I find that very traumatizing for those of us that have had trauma.
Yes.
It's accepting that it sucked. It was awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I would do it all again to be the person that I am today.
That is a beautiful answer. I love that. Such a great chat. I always love seeing you. Can you please tell people how they can find you, how they can work with you, how they can learn more about what you offer?
Sure. On any social media platform, it's Shaneh's World. I'm sure somewhere in the show notes will be how to spell my name.
Yes. We'll make sure.
Do I have a moment to tell you the Shaneh's World story so it makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. When I got out of high school, there was a car accident, and it kind of led me to marry my husband.
Okay.
Right out of high school, way too young. We had a plan before the car accident that involved, having adult lives and deciding if we were going to stay together, because dating in high school is very different from dating in the real world. But the car accident happened and we got married. Neither of us had the growth to be in a marriage.
Yeah.
And we fought like cats and dogs. One night we're arguing. I don't even remember what we're arguing about. And I clenched my fist and stamped my foot, which I'm not going to do on the desk because I'm sure it's not good for the microphone. But I threw a temper tantrum and was like, that is not the way things work in Shaneh's world. And that right there, that laughter was the exact reaction that we both had. And the fight ended. It became a thing when I got ill and I started recognizing that music had a very physically healing properties for me. So I started seeking out music and more of it because the way I was feeling was not allowed in Shaneh's world. When I became friends with an artist, somebody told him the Shaneh's World story. And so he checked in on Facebook at Shaneh's World and it took off. Suddenly people all around the world are checking in at Shaneh's World. And here's the truth about Shaneh's World. It is a feeling that anybody can have. You get to claim your own world. What's allowed in it? What's not? It is a safe oasis for you to thrive.
That is beautiful. Is that your website as well?
No, just on my social media platforms.
Okay.
My website is prosperityfirst.com.
I love it. Yeah, we'll include all of that in the notes.
Thank you.
I want to spend more time in Shaneh's world. That much I know.
You are always welcome in my world.
Okay.
And you get it just because you think of it.
Yeah.
Right? You connect to that energy of safe, oasis, growth, an abundance of nature, of healing, of energy, of money, just because you choose to connect to it. And then you get to call it Jay's World.
Yes. I love that. And I will say your smile is what drew me. I saw you do a lovely talk about money many years ago and was really drawn to your energy. And
thank you.
I've been in Shaneh's world ever since. So I appreciate you.
You're welcome. If you recall, that video has that visualization about seeing yourself through somebody's eyes.
Oh, yes. I probably need to revisit that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're amazing, and I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me. I think it's so important that because I know your community tends to be more spiritual, that you're having this conversation with them.
Yes, it's the
So
one
vital.
piece I see that is just so important for people in our industry, for sure.
Yep.
All right, my friend. Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for listening. We will see you on the next Joy, Love, and Healing podcast. Bye.